The email arrived at 8:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning in March. Jennifer Walsh was sitting at her desk on the 19th floor of the Blackstone Tower in downtown Chicago, sipping her third coffee of the morning and reviewing the quarterly projections that would make or break her promotion to senior vice president. She had worked at Meridian Financial Group for 6 years. 6 years of 12-hour days, weekend work,
yes, and
sacrificing every personal plan for the company. 6 years of being the first one in and the last one out. 6 years of making her boss, Richard Blackwell, look good while he took credit for her work. But it was all about to pay off. The SVP position came with a corner office, a substantial raise, and most importantly, equity in the company. Real ownership, real power, real security. Jennifer was 34 years old, single, and had built her entire life around her career. She had no regrets about that choice. At least, that's what she told herself on the nights when she came home to an empty apartment and wondered if there was supposed to be more to life than spreadsheets and board presentations. The email subject line read, "Meeting with Richard, urgent." Jennifer's stomach dropped. In her experience, urgent meetings with Richard were never good news. She clicked on the message. "Jennifer, need to see you in my office immediately. Come alone. RB." She saved her work, smoothed her skirt, and walked down the hallway to Richard's corner office. His assistant, Patricia, wasn't at her desk, unusual for this time of morning. The door was closed. Jennifer knocked. "Come in." Richard Blackwell sat behind his massive mahogany desk, his expression unreadable. He was 52, silver-haired, expensive suit, the kind of man who looked like he'd been born in a boardroom. Standing next to him was someone Jennifer didn't recognize, a woman in her 40s carrying a leather folder. "Jennifer, sit down," Richard said, not offering his usual fake smile. Jennifer sat, her pulse quickening. Something was very wrong. "This is Monica Chen from HR," Richard said, gesturing to the woman. "We need to discuss a serious matter." Monica opened her folder and pulled out a document. "Ms. Walsh, we've received some concerning information about your recent behavior and performance." "I'm sorry, what?" Jennifer said, genuinely confused. "My performance has been excellent. I've exceeded every target, delivered every project ahead of schedule." "That's not what we're here to discuss," Richard interrupted. His voice was cold now, all pretense of collegiality gone. "We've received reports that you've been distracted lately. Making errors. Missing deadlines." Jennifer stared at him. "That's not true. I haven't missed a single deadline. My last performance review was stellar, you wrote it yourself." "Circumstances change," Monica said smoothly. "We need to discuss your commitment to this company moving forward." There was something in the way she emphasized commitment that made Jennifer's blood run cold. "I don't understand what this is about," Jennifer said carefully. Richard leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled. "Jennifer, you've been a valuable employee. But Meridian Financial is at a critical juncture. We need people who can give 100%. People without distractions." "Distractions," Jennifer repeated. Monica pulled out another document. "It's come to our attention that you're pregnant." The words hung in the air like a grenade. Jennifer felt the floor shift beneath her. She hadn't told anyone at work yet. She was only 8 weeks along. She'd been planning to wait until the end of the first trimester, until everything was stable and safe, before making any announcements. "How?" she started, then stopped. It didn't matter how they knew. What mattered was that they did. "Is it true?" Richard asked. Jennifer's mind raced. She could deny it. But they clearly already had confirmation somehow. And lying would only make this worse. "Yes," she said quietly. "I'm pregnant. But that has nothing to do with my job performance or my commitment to this company. I'm planning to take the standard maternity leave and then return. That's not going to work for us, Richard said flatly. Excuse me. The SVP position requires complete dedication, Richard continued. Someone in that role needs to be available 24/7. Someone who can travel internationally on short notice. Someone whose focus is entirely on the company. I can do all of that, Jennifer said, her voice rising. Women have babies and careers all the time. This is the 21st century. This isn't about gender, Monica interrupted. This is about the specific requirements of this position. Requirements that you can no longer meet. Jennifer looked at Richard, at the man she'd worked alongside for 6 years. The man whose presentations she'd written, whose mistakes she'd covered for, whose success she'd built with her own hands. You're firing me, she said. You're firing me for being pregnant. We're restructuring your position, Monica said carefully. Your role is being eliminated due to changing business needs. It has nothing to do with your pregnancy. That's a lie, Jennifer said. That's a blatant lie. My role isn't being eliminated. You're giving it to someone else. You're firing me because I'm pregnant. Richard's expression hardened. Watch your tone, Jennifer. We're trying to handle this professionally. Professionally? Jennifer's voice shook with anger. There's nothing professional about pregnancy discrimination. This is illegal. This meeting is over, Richard said, standing up. Security will escort you to your desk to collect your personal items. Your access to company systems will be terminated within the hour. HR will be in touch about your severance package. Severance package? Jennifer stood up, her hands trembling. I don't want your severance package. I want my job. The job I've earned. The job you're stealing from me because I dared to be pregnant. Security is waiting outside, Monica said, her voice still maddeningly calm. Please don't make this more difficult than it needs to be. Jennifer looked at both of them, at their blank expressions, their obvious desire to get this over with and move on with their day. She thought about begging. Thought about promising that nothing would change, that she'd work until the day she gave birth and be back within weeks. But she knew it wouldn't matter. They'd already made their decision. She was being erased, discarded, thrown away like she was nothing. This isn't over, Jennifer said quietly. Yes, it is, Richard replied. Goodbye, Jennifer. 2 security guards were indeed waiting outside. They escorted her to her desk while her co-workers pretended not to notice. She packed her personal items into a cardboard box, 6 years compressed into one container, while people she'd worked with for years avoided eye contact. Sarah, the junior analyst Jennifer had mentored for 2 years, finally approached. Jen, what's happening? Are you leaving? I'm being fired, Jennifer said, her voice hollow. For being pregnant. Sarah's eyes widened. They can't do that. They just did. By 10:15 a.m., Jennifer was standing on the street outside Blackstone Tower, holding a box of her belongings, unemployed for the first time in her adult life. She called her sister, Emma, who was a paralegal at a downtown law firm. They fired you for being pregnant? Emma said, her voice sharp. Jen, that's textbook pregnancy discrimination. That's illegal under the Pregnancy Discrimination Act, Title VII, probably state law too. They said it was a restructuring, Jennifer said numbly. That my position was being eliminated. Were other positions eliminated? No. Just mine. And I'm pretty sure they're going to give my job to Marcus Chin. Richard's been grooming him for months. That's retaliation and discrimination, Emma said. Jen, listen to me. You need to call Michael Torres. He's an employment lawyer, specializes in discrimination cases. He's expensive, but he's brilliant. And if your case is as clear-cut as it sounds, he'll take it on contingency. Emma, I can't afford. Contingency means you don't pay unless you win, Emma interrupted. Call him. Right now. Before you do anything else. Don't sign anything from their HR department. Don't agree to any severance. Don't communicate with them at all. Just call Michael. Jennifer called Michael Torres from a coffee shop 2 blocks from her former office. His receptionist put her through immediately. Ms. Walsh, Michael said, his voice warm but professional. Emma spoke very highly of you. Tell me what happened. Jennifer told him everything. The sudden meeting. The questions about her pregnancy. The termination disguised as restructuring. The escort from the building. Michael was quiet for a long moment after she finished. Then he said, Ms. Walsh, do you still have access to your work email? I think so. They said they were terminating it within the hour, but... She pulled out her phone and checked. Yes, I can still access it. Forward me every email from the past 6 months, Michael said. Every performance review. Every communication with Richard Blackwell or anyone in HR. Do it right now, before they lock you out. Jennifer's fingers flew across her phone screen. She forwarded hundreds of emails. Every praise from Richard, every successful project completion, every glowing review. Done, she said. Good. Now one more question. Is there any chance at all, that they documented their real reason for firing you? A text message, an email, anything? I don't think so, Jennifer said. They were careful. It was all verbal. That's what I expected, Michael said. But sometimes people get sloppy. Sometimes they think they're smarter than they are. Something in his tone made Jennifer pause. You think I have a case? Ms. Walsh, I think you have more than a case, Michael said. I think you have a slam dunk. But I need to do some research, review the evidence, and prepare properly. Can you meet me at my office tomorrow morning? 9 a.m. Yes, Jennifer said. I'll be there. And Ms. Walsh? Don't worry about money. If this is what I think it is, Meridian Financial is going to pay for every single thing they've done to you. What Jennifer didn't know, what Richard Blackwell and Monica Chen didn't know, was that Michael Torres wasn't just an employment lawyer. He was the employment lawyer. In the past 12 years, he had won over 300 discrimination cases and hadn't lost a single one that went to trial. He had extracted settlements totaling over $2 billion from companies that thought they could get away with illegal discrimination. And he was about to add Meridian Financial Group to that list. Michael spent that evening and the entire next day reviewing Jennifer's emails, researching Meridian Financial's corporate structure, and making phone calls to sources throughout the industry. What he found was even better than he'd hoped. When Jennifer arrived at his office the next morning, Michael had a stack of documents waiting. Sit down, Ms. Walsh, he said. We have a lot to discuss. Jennifer sat, her hands clasped in her lap. She hadn't slept well. The shock was wearing off, being replaced by a deep, simmering anger. First, the good news, Michael said. Your case is even stronger than I thought. Your emails show a clear pattern of excellent performance. You've never missed a deadline, never received a negative review, and in fact, you've consistently exceeded expectations. Richard Blackwell himself wrote that you were indispensable to the company just 6 weeks ago. He slid a printed email across the desk. Jennifer recognized it, a message Richard had sent to the executive team praising her work on the Maxwell merger. Second, Michael continued, I've confirmed that your position was not eliminated. It was given to Marcus Chen 2 hours after you were escorted from the building. They didn't even wait a full day. Jennifer's jaw clenched. So it was all a lie. It was all a lie, Michael confirmed. But here's where it gets interesting. I did some digging into Meridian Financial's recent history. Turns out, you're not the first woman they've terminated after becoming pregnant. He pulled out another file. 3 years ago, Catherine Ross, senior analyst, fired 2 weeks after announcing her pregnancy. They paid her a quiet settlement, $50,000, and made her sign an NDA. 2 years ago, Allison Wright, project manager. Same story. Fired, settlement, NDA. Last year, Diana Chong, compliance officer. Fired, settlement, NDA. Jennifer stared at the files. This is a pattern. This is a systematic practice, Michael corrected. Meridian Financial has been illegally discriminating against pregnant employees for years. They've just been smart about it. Quiet settlements, NDAs, making the problem go away before it becomes public. So what do we do? Jennifer asked. Michael smiled. It wasn't a pleasant smile. It was the smile of a predator who just spotted prey. We don't settle quietly, he said. We file a lawsuit. We make it public. We expose the pattern. And we go for maximum damages. How much are we talking about? Jennifer asked. Lost wages, lost benefits, lost equity. The SVP position you were denied. That's roughly $5 million over the expected term of your career. Emotional distress, another $2 million. But here's the key: punitive damages. When a company engages in a pattern of discrimination, when they show willful disregard for the law, the court can award punitive damages to punish them and deter future violations. Michael leaned forward. Based on Meridian Financial's assets and the egregiousness of their conduct, I'm going to ask for $89 million. Jennifer's eyes widened. $89 million? It sends a message, Michael said. And trust me, they can afford it. Meridian Financial Group is worth $3 billion. $89 million is a rounding error to them. But it's enough to hurt. Enough to make them think twice before they discriminate again. Do we have a chance of actually winning that much? Jennifer asked. Yes, Michael said simply. But first, we need to gather more evidence. I need you to write down everything you remember from that meeting. Every word Richard and Monica said. Every detail. And I need you to think, is there anyone else at the company who might testify? Anyone who witnessed discrimination? Anyone who has information that could help? Jennifer thought for a moment. Then she remembered something. Patricia, Richard's assistant. She wasn't at her desk that morning, which was strange. But Patricia has worked for Richard for 15 years. She's seen everything. If anyone knows about the pattern, it's her. Can you reach out to her? Michael asked. I can try, Jennifer said. But she's loyal to Richard. I don't know if she'll talk. People's loyalty has limits, Michael said. Especially when they realize they're working for someone who's breaking the law. Jennifer called Patricia that evening. The phone rang 4 times, and Jennifer was about to hang up when Patricia answered. Jennifer? I heard what happened. I'm so sorry. Patricia, I need to ask you something, Jennifer said carefully. And I need you to be honest with me. Has Richard done this before? Fired women for being pregnant. There was a long silence. Then, quietly, yes. How many times? I don't know exactly. At least 3 that I'm aware of. Maybe more. Did he ever say why? Did he ever explicitly state that he was firing them because of pregnancy? Another pause. Jennifer, I can't. I have an NDA. I signed a confidentiality agreement. If Richard finds out I'm talking to you... Patricia, what Richard is doing is illegal. You know that, right? Pregnancy discrimination is a federal crime. The NDAs don't protect illegal activity. If you have information and you're willing to testify, you're protected by whistleblower laws. I could lose my job, Patricia whispered. You could, Jennifer acknowledged. But you could also help stop Richard from doing this to other women. Women who don't deserve to lose their careers just because they want to have a family. Patricia was quiet for so long that Jennifer thought she'd hung up. Then, there are recordings. Jennifer's heart stopped. What? Richard has a recording system in his office. He installed it 3 years ago after a client accused him of making inappropriate promises. He records every meeting for protection. The recordings are stored on a private server. Can you access them? Jennifer asked, barely breathing. I have his passwords. I manage his calendar, his emails, everything. I could access them if I wanted to. Patricia. But I'd be stealing company property. That's a crime. You'd be preserving evidence of a crime, Jennifer corrected. There's a difference. And if you turn that evidence over to law enforcement or an attorney, you're protected. Patricia was crying now. I've worked for him for 15 years. I thought he was a good man. But after what happened to you, after seeing it happen again, I don't know anymore. You know what's right, Jennifer said gently. You've always known. That's why you're taking this call. That's why you're telling me this. If I do this, Patricia said slowly, if I give you those recordings, you promise they'll be used to help those women? Not just you, but all of them. I promise, Jennifer said. We're going to expose everything. We're going to make sure Richard and Meridian Financial can never do this again. Okay, Patricia whispered. Okay. I'll do it. 3 days later, Michael Torres sat in his office listening to recordings that would change everything. Patricia had downloaded 43 recordings from Richard Blackwell's server. Most of them were routine business meetings, but 7 of them were termination meetings. Michael listened to Catherine Ross being told that her priorities had shifted after her pregnancy announcement. He listened to Allison Wright being told that motherhood and career advancement don't mix at Meridian. He listened to Diana Chong being told that women with young children lack the commitment necessary for leadership positions. And he listened to Jennifer's meeting, where Richard had said, clearly, unmistakably, we need people without distractions, and pregnancy is the ultimate distraction. Michael sat back in his chair and smiled. It was a genuine smile this time, not predatory but satisfied. Justified. They gave us everything, he said to Jennifer, who was sitting across from him. They recorded their own crimes and kept them on a server. It's the single most damning piece of evidence I've ever seen in an employment discrimination case. What happens now? Jennifer asked. Now we file the lawsuit, Michael said. And we go public. Press conference, media coverage, everything. We make Meridian Financial's discrimination common knowledge. We make it impossible for them to hide. They'll fight back, Jennifer said. Of course they will, Michael agreed. They'll hire expensive lawyers. They'll try to discredit you. They'll offer settlement after settlement to make this go away quietly. But we're not going quietly. We're going all the way. The lawsuit was filed on a Monday morning. By Monday afternoon, it was on the front page of every major business publication. Meridian Financial accused of systematic pregnancy discrimination, read the Wall Street Journal headline. Pattern of illegal firing exposed at major financial firm, reported Bloomberg. Richard Blackwell's response was immediate. Meridian Financial released a statement denying all allegations, calling the lawsuit baseless and defamatory, and promising to vigorously defend against these false accusations. But by Tuesday morning, 2 more women had come forward. Former employees who had been paid to stay quiet were suddenly willing to break their NDAs and testify. Patricia, no longer able to work for Richard after what she'd done, had resigned and agreed to testify about everything she'd witnessed. By Wednesday, it was a media firestorm. Women's rights organizations were protesting outside Meridian Financial's offices. Major clients were threatening to pull their account. The company's stock price had dropped 15%. And Richard Blackwell, for the first time in his career, looked worried. The trial was scheduled for 6 months later, but it never got that far. 2 weeks before the trial date, Meridian Financial's legal team requested an emergency meeting with Michael Torres. They met in a neutral conference room at a law firm that represented neither party. Meridian's lead attorney, Robert Hastings, was a legendary litigator who charged $2,000 an hour and had never lost a case. He looked exhausted. "Let's be frank," Robert said. "You have recordings. You have witnesses. You have a pattern of discrimination that's impossible to defend. If this goes to trial, we lose. We both know that." "Then why are we meeting?" Michael asked pleasantly. "Because there's losing, and then there's what happens to Meridian Financial if this goes to trial," Robert said. "The publicity, the scrutiny, the damage to the brand. Could destroy the company. Put thousands of people out of work." "That's not my problem," Michael said. "That's Richard Blackwell's problem. He created this situation." "We're prepared to offer a settlement," Robert said. "I'm listening. $30 million. Full reinstatement for Ms. Walsh if she wants it, with back pay and guaranteed promotion to SVP. Public apology from the company. Agreement to implement comprehensive anti-discrimination training and oversight." Michael didn't even blink. $89 million. "That's absurd." "That's what we're asking for in the lawsuit," Michael interrupted. "And that's what I think a jury will award when they hear those recordings. When they hear Richard Blackwell say that pregnancy is the ultimate distraction. When they hear him tell multiple women that motherhood and career advancement don't mix. When they see the pattern. When they understand that this wasn't one mistake, it was policy." $50 million, Robert countered. "That's as high as we can go." $89 million, Michael repeated. "Plus everything else I mentioned. Reinstatement, apology, policy changes. And one more thing, Richard Blackwell resigns. Immediately. With no golden parachute. He doesn't get to walk away from this with millions in severance." Robert stared at him. "You're asking us to fire our CEO." "I'm asking you to fire a criminal," Michael corrected. "Because that's what he is. He systematically violated federal law. He destroyed careers. He hurt women who trusted him to follow the law. And you want to protect him." "I want to protect the company," Robert said. "Then accept my terms," Michael said. $89 million. Blackwell gone. Policy changes. Or we go to trial, and I promise you, we'll win more than that. And Meridian Financial's reputation will be destroyed forever." Robert looked at his notes, at the calculator in front of him, at the impossible situation his client had created. "I need to call my client," he said finally. Michael smiled. "Take your time." The call took 3 hours. Michael and Jennifer waited in the conference room, ordering lunch, making small talk, trying not to think too hard about what was happening in that phone call. Finally, Robert came back. He looked older than he had 3 hours ago. "We'll settle," he said. $89 million to Ms. Walsh. Full reinstatement with all benefits and guaranteed promotion. Public apology from Meridian Financial acknowledging the discrimination. Comprehensive policy overhaul. And Richard Blackwell will resign, effective immediately, with no severance beyond what his contract legally requires. He slid a document across the table. "This is the settlement agreement. Review it. If it's acceptable, we can finalize by end of business today." Michael took the document and spent the next hour reviewing every word, every clause, every potential loophole. When he was satisfied, he looked at Jennifer. "This is it," he said. $89 million. Your job back if you want it. Everything we asked for. Once you sign this, it's over." Jennifer looked at the document. At the number that represented vindication, justice, accountability. At the proof that fighting back had mattered. "What happens to the other women?" she asked. "Catherine, Allison, Diana?" "They'll receive compensation as part of the settlement," Michael said. "Not as much as you, but substantial amounts. Enough to make them whole." Jennifer thought about the 8 weeks she'd spent unemployed. The stress. The fear. The anger. The night she'd cried herself to sleep, wondering if she'd made a terrible mistake by refusing to stay quiet. And she thought about every other woman who might have walked into Richard Blackwell's office, might have been fired for being pregnant, might have lost everything, if she hadn't fought back. "I'll sign it," she said. "On one condition." "What condition?" Robert asked warily. "The apology has to be specific," Jennifer said. "Not some vague statement about mistakes were made. I want Meridian Financial to explicitly acknowledge that they engaged in pregnancy discrimination. I want them to name it. I want them to own it." Robert looked like he wanted to argue. But Michael was nodding. "That's reasonable," Michael said. "And non-negotiable." "Fine," Robert said through gritted teeth. "We'll make it specific." The settlement was announced at 4:47 p.m. that same day. Meridian Financial Group's stock dropped another 8% before trading was halted. By the next morning, Richard Blackwell had cleaned out his office and was gone. The media coverage was overwhelming. "Woman wins $89 million in pregnancy discrimination case," read the headlines. "Meridian Financial admits systematic discrimination." "Landmark settlement sends message to corporate America." Jennifer did interviews with major news networks. She talked about what had happened, about the pattern of discrimination, about why she'd refused to settle quietly. She became, almost overnight, a symbol of fighting back against workplace discrimination. But the moment that mattered most to her happened 3 weeks after the settlement was finalized. She was back at her desk, a new desk in a corner office on the 20th floor, with her name on the door and Senior Vice President on her business card. She had insisted on returning to work, not because she needed the money anymore, but because she wanted to prove a point. She wanted to show that pregnant women could have careers, that motherhood and professional success weren't mutually exclusive, that the fight had been worth it. She was reviewing a contract when her assistant knocked on the door. "Ms. Walsh? There's someone here to see you. She says it's important." A young woman walked in, maybe 28 years old, professional but nervous. "Ms. Walsh? I'm Emily Carter. I work at Davidson Investment Group across town." "Nice to meet you, Emily. What can I do for you?" Emily took a breath. "I'm pregnant. 12 weeks. I haven't told anyone at work yet because I'm scared. I'm scared they'll fire me like they fired you. I'm scared I'll lose everything I've worked for." She pulled out her phone and showed Jennifer a news article about the Meridian settlement. "But then I saw what you did. How you fought back. How you won. And I thought, maybe I don't have to be scared. Maybe there are people who will stand up for women like me." Jennifer stood up and walked around her desk. "Emily, do you have an employment lawyer?" "No, I can't afford." "Here," Jennifer said, writing down Michael Torres's number. "Call him. Tell him I sent you. Tell him everything. If your company even thinks about discriminating against you, he'll make them regret it." Emily's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you. You don't know what this means." "I do know," Jennifer said softly. "Because 6 months ago I was terrified too. But we don't have to be terrified anymore. Not when we fight back." After Emily left, Jennifer sat in her corner office, looking out at the Chicago skyline. Her hand unconsciously moved to her stomach, where her baby, now 16 weeks along, was growing. She thought about Richard Blackwell, who had tried to erase her. who had thought she was just another woman who would take the settlement and disappear. She thought about the $89 million that had vanished from Meridian Financial's accounts before lunch on the day the settlement was finalized. And she thought about all the women who would come after her, who would know that fighting back was possible, that justice was possible, that they didn't have to accept discrimination as the price of having both a career and a family. Her phone buzzed. A text from Michael. Just got a call from 3 more women at different companies, all saying your case gave them courage to report discrimination. You've started something. Jennifer smiled and typed back, "Good. Let's keep it going." Because that was the thing Richard Blackwell had never understood. When you try to silence one woman, when you try to make her disappear, when you assume she'll take the money and fade away quietly, sometimes you create something much more dangerous. You create someone who has nothing left to lose and everything to fight for. You create a symbol, a message, a warning, and sometimes that costs you $89 million before lunch. Jennifer looked at the framed newspaper article on her wall, the headline announcing the settlement, the photo of her leaving the courthouse victorious. She had lost her job for getting pregnant, and in return she had gained something money couldn't buy, the knowledge that she had changed the rules for every woman who came after her. That was worth more than $89 million. That was worth everything.